Dear Diary. Dear Diary, October 21st, 2023. It was 4:45 and I was at Sotheby's. I went to see a series of photographs that were being auctioned off, but was surprised and happy to also find old Escher drawings and early Picasso sketches in some of the other rooms. I walked slowly through these quiet rooms. There is something about the past sitting in the present, the contrast of the modern surrounded by these legends. I walked first through the Escher, and always mesmerized by the genius of his designs. But when I stepped into the next room of this labyrinth, I was surrounded by early Picasso sketches and was soon hit by a wave of emotion. An ocean wave poured over me. The feeling was love. I was being attacked and consumed by love. Like love sprung off from the walls and clung to me and washed over me. Like it came at me from every corner of the maze. It was a sea creature clinging to my shoulders, my waist, hugging my back, laying against my heart. I kept looking at these drawings, trying to figure out why I was feeling this way. Picasso's earlier works are realistic. He came into his own style later. So these were his realistic portraits. There was nothing that I could see in the drawings that should evoke this intense love feeling in me, so I was a little confused. Being attacked by love wasn't a bad feeling, but I didn't understand how these particular drawings were having this particular effect. But I felt good, and I felt inspired, and I wanted to write. I wanted to go to the rooftop cafe at Sotheby's in that moment, but it had closed down years earlier, so I left the building. I remember the sensation stayed with me a little longer, and I wrote it down to preserve the feeling. This thing I called love attaching itself to me, infusing me with a sense of elation, inspiration, happiness, almost giddiness. It energized me. When I was going to LaGuardia High School in the 90s, we used to cut classes and go to Sheep Meadow in Central Park. When the sun was beginning to set, I was surprised to see park volunteers walking around the meadow, kicking people out. Had it always been that way? Maybe, but now I was noticing it and how ridiculous these rules were. So many rules and restrictions. But if I'm honest with myself, growing up in New York City has always been a kind of tug-of-war between restriction and rebellion, freedom. Feeling like a caged bird for long periods and then flying free. I've grown accustomed to the ebbs and flows, pulling me in and then pulling myself out again. I remember so clearly the feeling when I was a young teenager, sneaking out after my parents went to bed, jumping on the 6 train to go downtown to St. Mark's Place. I would literally skip and run down the streets, feeling like I could fly. Freedom feels like the Tao. It is the freedom to be, to just be, to just let go of all the layers we hold on to that are supposed to shield us from the challenges of life. But letting go and being open to the world, letting the wounded hero inside free to express itself, seems to be what the Tao really is. And so I thought again of Picasso and the overwhelm of feeling that rushed over me at Sotheby's that day. I thought about how everyone calls him an asshole. I thought about all the hearts he had broken. I thought about the artist Dora Maar, whose photo collages I have loved since I was a little girl, how she became Picasso's weeping woman. But I thought, Picasso is brave. He is authentic and vulnerable because he has the courage to step outside of the perimeters and release the wounded part of himself inside. So I thought of the Tao again, to be free to be ourselves, to be authentic, open and vulnerable against the backdrop of the closed and satiated, and I understood why I felt that overwhelm of love in the presence of his earlier sketches. It wasn't what I was seeing, but maybe this was the moment before the moment that he released his true self into the world, the point of his true self-love. And maybe I felt his elation, his joy, his giddiness, that he was energized. I started to think more about the Tao and love, and I began to write the Tao of Love and Fairy Tales, which would be the next little time capsule film that